The plain holds its breath. A vast shape waits in the dusk, too still to be a victory. Rope bites deep. Fibers creak. The city pulls its own curse closer. A gate that has endured 10 years shifts hinges, waking like an animal in the dark. A child bolts upright, listening, not 2 words. To the shape of fear, morning finds the beach empty. Where 1,000 holes once choked the waterline, there is only pale surf and abandoned fire rings still warm. As if the Greeks have only just stepped away. Troy has learned to measure time in hunger and funerals. 10 years of salt, wind, bronze, and shouted names. Then suddenly, quiet so sharp it feels like a trap laid across the day. And there on the plain stands the thing that explains the silence. A horse of timber and treachery. Too large for any stable. Too deliberate to be an accident. Some call it an offering, an apology shaped like victory. Others hear only wood talking to wood. A message for gates, for beams, for hinges that have waited too long to fail. The city pours out to stare at it, faces cracked by sea, eyes searching for the missing fleet as if it might reappear, explaining everything if. They look hard enough. Priam's counselors taste hope like a dangerous wine. A gift could be proof the war is over. A gift could be proof the gods have chosen sides. But the soldiers, those who have carried bodies off the wall, listen to the silence differently. A retreat can be honest. It can also be rehearsal. They argue in a city that has forgotten how to be safe. Each word falls into the air like a pebble into a well, too quick to vanish, too deep to retrieve. Then they find him, a lone man by the horse, bound like an offering himself. He does not look like a hero. He looks like a story waiting to be believed. He says the Greeks hated him, that he fled their knives, that this wooden beast is payment to a goddess meant to buy them passage home, meant to end the blood. He knows the names the Trojans fear. He knows which losses still ache, and with every sentence, he offers them what the siege has starved most, an ending. Not everyone is hungry for comfort. Laocoön, priest and stubborn man, comes down like a storm in human form, is fixed not on Sinon, but on the gift. He does not ask what the Greeks intended. He assumes it. Gifts can carry teeth. And the city hears an old truth it has tried to forget. Enemies do not give away victories. He takes a spear and tests the horse, the only way a siege-taught city should. By doubt made physical, wood answers with a hollow note too deep, too wrong. A murmur spreads because for a heartbeat, everyone imagines what might be inside. Men, weapons, or only emptiness shaped to mock them. Then the omen arrives not in thunder, but in the ordinary horror of nature. From the sea's edge, to serpents cut the water like drawn blades, and the day turns cold. They do not choose a random victim. They choose the man who warned them. The crowd's courage collapses into superstition, fast as breath leaving a lung. Someone whispers, "The gods have judged." That spear strike was blasphemy. The horse is sacred. The warning becomes the crime. In that turning, fear, dressed as faith, the city, makes its choice, not because they are foolish, because they are tired. And tired people will pay any price for the word over. They yoke strength to the horse. Wheels groan, skids scrape, and Troy stone by stone, breath by breath, begins to haul the enemy into its own heart. The gate's shadow swallows the horse inch by inch. A sound like a throat-closing echoes off limestone. Wood against stone. Victory against caution. Inside the walls, the streets narrow. The horse does not fit the city's life. The city reshapes itself around it, like a wound closing around a blade. High above, Cassandra watches, and her dread is not a scream. It is a stillness that refuses to become relief. She has learned the cruelty of prophecy, to see the end clearly and still be outvoted by hope. The city below cheers as if noise alone can defeat fate. They settle the horse near the citadel, where the stone is oldest and the pride runs deepest. If it is sacred, they want it close enough to touch their triumph. And Sinon, smiling carefully now, is welcomed into the city he came to unmake. He needs no sword. He has already placed the key inside the lock. Evening arrives with festival fire. Bowls of wine, bread torn by grateful hands. For a few hours, Troy pretends the war was only a bad dream that ended at dawn. But the horse stands among them like a mountain that has learned to listen. Its shadow reaches across the stones as the sun sinks. Longer than any song, Cassandra walks the streets where laughter tries too hard. She hears the city's joy as a thin crust over something starving beneath. Above the roofs, the wind changes. The salt air returns stronger, sharper as if the sea itself is bringing news no one wants to receive. Doors bar, dogs hush, the festival thins to embers. And still the horse waits patient as rot, quiet as a sealed tomb. Outside the walls, the world has not gone quiet. In the darkness beyond sight, oars bite water in perfect rhythm, soft, relentless. Returning, the Greek campfires bloom against mall points first, then a line, then a promise. From Troy's towers, sleepy eyes mistake it for mirage. Within the horse, darkness is cramped and warm with breath. Bronze edges glint faintly. Leather creaks. Men hold still, counting time by the city's fading noise. Sinon slips away from his watchers like smoke, finding a crack. He needs one thing now, a signal answered at the right moment, somewhere on the walls. A guard yawns and looks away for a heartbeat. In wars, cities die in heartbeats. The streets quiet, a last cup tips and rolls. Clicking once against stone, an absurdly small sound in a city about to become a furnace. Then far off, one light changes. A small flare against the night, answered by the sea. The city does not notice. The trap does inside the horse. Men wake from stillness. A hand finds a latch. A hinge remembers it was built to move. Breath tightens. The wood is no longer sleeping. A crack opens. Night air slides in like a blade. The first warrior emerges careful, controlled, born from the belly of a victory monument. They drop to stone without ceremony. No war cries, no glory, only quiet competence, the kind that ends cities. A small team peels off toward the gates. Another melts into alleys toward guard posts. The plan is not rigid as logistics. The city is a machine with predictable parts. Near the gatehouse, a guard turns too late. A shadow covers his torch. The light dies with a soft gasp, and the wall's safety becomes an unlocked door. From outside, the returning fleet waits for the city's answer. One gate, one bar lifted. One hinge turned, a single motion, and 10 years becomes one night. The Sinon gate shudders. A beam slides free. The sound is small wood on wood. Yet it lands like thunder in the unseen ranks outside. The gate opens into darkness, and darkness moves. Greek shapes flood the threshold like water finding a breach. Silent for the first breaths, then multiplying faster than counting. At last, a shout tears the night, not a heroic cry and alarm. Troy wakes the way a person wakes in a fire, confused. Already burning time it cannot afford. Greek teams strike like coordinated hands of one body, one seizing towers, another cutting down messengers, another racing for storehouses and choke points. The city's map becomes a weapon. On rooftops, figures of paired Trojan defenders scrambling to see, to understand. Below them, shadows move the wrong way. The danger is inside, not outside. A house door splinters. A family stumbles into the lane with only what can be carried. The city's private lives spill into public panic. Fire takes the first roof the way hunger takes breadfast, without apology. Sparks lift into the night and settle elsewhere, turning chance into strategy at the palace approaches. Trojan guards form a line that has not formed in years. Sleep still clings to their faces, but instinct brings shields up. But the Greeks arrive in waves, timed to the city's confusion. A flank appears where no flank should be. A corridor fills. The palace is no longer a refuge, it is a target. Across the city, Cassandra stands in a doorway as if rooted to the stone. Her prophecy does not save her. It only proves she was right. One scream at a time, a temple courtyard fills with refugees clutching small household gods and woven bundles. Faith becomes a shelter made of bodies till the night pushes in after them in the streets. The sound changes, less shouting, more running. The city's breath becomes fast and shallow. Somewhere, a gate slams too late, too small, too alone. Priam is old enough to remember Troy before the war, before the prophecies, before the bargains. Tonight, he learns what a city costs when it is paid for in pride. He takes up armor that feels heavier than it once did. Not because it weighs, more because it now carries the weight of endings. In another wing, the sound of footsteps multiplies Greek boots on palace stone. The invaders do not wander. They navigate. They know where the heart is. Outside rooftops become bridges for the desperate. A young mother passes a child across a gap, not looking down. The city's heights are safer than its streets until they are not. Menelaus moves through smoke with a name in his teeth. Helen is somewhere inside this burning labyrinth, more symbol than person now. A spark that started wars and ends them. In a chamber lit by trembling firelight, Helen stands at the edge of ruin, neither cheering nor pleading. Outside, men decide what her face will mean to history. A blade can end a life, but a look can end a decision. Menelaus hesitates, caught between oath and exhaustion, rage and the sudden emptiness that follows victory. Somewhere nearby, the palace's inner court erupts with motion. Priam's last defenders gather around him, not dreaming of triumph, only refusing to vanish without witness. The Greeks press in. The sound is not heroic, just wood, bronze, stone, and breath colliding in tight spaces. The palace becomes a corridor of echoes. Priam's end is not painted in gore here. It is the quiet breaking of a line, the moment the old king is swallowed by the outcome he tried to outlive. Elsewhere, Aeneas wakes to a different kind of call, not to win, but to carry. To lift a future out of a collapsing roof and walk it through flame and fear. He takes his father onto his back, not as a legend, but as a fact of weight and bone. A child clings to his side. The line of generations becomes one moving figure. They pass neighbors who no longer look like neighbors, only silhouettes with bundles. Eyes wide, mouths open on names that vanish into smoke. Troy empties itself into the night. At the inner streets, a bottleneck forms. People push, then stop, then push again, like a tide trapped behind stone. In that crush, the city's order dissolves completely. Above them, sparks fall like harsh snow. A roof collapses somewhere out of sight with a dull roar. The night is no longer a night, it is a burning ceiling. Toward dawn, the sounds thin, not because the suffering ends, because exhaustion mutes it. Smoke turns the sky a bruised gray, and the city's outlines blur like a memory. On the walls, Greek banners rise where Trojan watchers once stood. The stone has not changed, only who owns the morning has changed. In a courtyard, survivors sit among scattered clay and ash, not speaking. Their silence is heavier than the night screams be, because it has nowhere left to go. The horse still stands where they placed it now, just a husk of planks, robbed of purpose. A monument that has finished doing what it was built to do. At the gate, footprints overlap into a single smudged path. Who fled, who chased, who fell behind. Impossible to separate now. History begins as a blur of steps. Aeneas and the small knot of survivors reach higher ground beyond the walls. Behind them, Troy smolders, still standing, yet already gone. Like a body after the breath leaves, it does not heal. It only shows smoke columns, broken roofs, quiet streets, where yesterday people argued about a gift. The lesson arrives without speech. In the aftermath, even victors move carefully, stepping around ash as if it might accuse them. Triumph is quieter than songs promised. It sounds like wood settling after fire. By late morning, the sea breeze returns, indifferent. It moves through shattered beams, through empty doorways, through the spaces where prayers once lived. Wind does not mourn. Out on the water, ships gather like dark leaves on a moving current. The war that felt endless ends in departure quietly, without permission from the dead. From the cliffland, the ruined walls look smaller than the stories promised. That is how pride dies, reduced by distance, exposed by daylight. Unable to argue back, the old motifs remain: wood, breath, hinges, salt wind only. Now they mean something else. Not warning, not prophecy, just evidence. This is what one decision can do. And on the horizon, the last sails shrink into brightness. Behind them, Troy smolders, in silence an emptied name, a ruined shore. And a wooden shape that taught the world how easily hope can be used.